You're listening to The Good Morning Show with Oliver O.T. Thomas.
We're back. Welcome back to The Good Morning Show. Oliver O.T. Thomas, the early bird. And the entire WBOK listening audience, we're back. I want to thank everybody who weighed in, man. Look, I still need somebody to call me up at some point text me on social media about a solution, right? So that we can get off of this crime roller coaster, man. I would love to see some consistency from one era, one decade to the next, right? But every time it seems like we're heading in the right direction in this town, we have this rash of these waves of violence that pop up. And at some point we have to get to the root cause. If you guys have some solutions, we would definitely love to talk about it here on the Good Morning Show and get the right people here so we can at least start having some sustainable transformational success. And when you talk about sustainable transformational success, I think maybe she could say, I told you so, but that's probably not her style, man. You're talking about success on Bayou Road. Man, folk have been raving about Bayou Road. And I'm always intentional about usually going there during the day. There's certain shops, specialty items. I'll go to some of the restaurants there. But, man, I went to and I've been hearing people talk about the nightlife on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And it is, I'm not going to say unbelievable, Beverly McKenna, because you've been saying for years, hey, guys, we got a special place here, right, with some special opportunity. And people are seeing and feeling it now. Talk about, I'll use the word, the renaissance on Bayou Road and the work that had to go into stabilization of that community first, just to get to the point where we're seeing some of the success happen now.
First of all, thanks for having me, Oliver. Glad to be here today to discuss my pet project of the month.
One of many.
One of many. But this is our most recent project, and I'm very, very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. We just didn't start over there in the last year or so. This is something that, the Tribune is located in that area on Esplanade. Mm-hmm. I live there. Our museum is there. So this is really our neighborhood. And for years, you drive up and down Bayou Road. It was run down, rickety, drug-infested, old appliances out on the street.
Absolutely.
And so I would look at it and think what this could be. It also has great historical significance, being that it's said to be the oldest street in the city, oldest thoroughfare in the city.
It's still cobblestone, much of it.
Yeah. But literally in terms of an area of passage connecting the Mississippi River to the lake. And it was an area where Native Americans traveled. Mm-hmm. People of color have had a presence back there.
Hence the bayou.
Right, from forever.
Right.
So Dwight and I talked, and we would look at it. But even back before Katrina, there were those who would rear their ugly heads and determine, you could see that they were trying to get black people out of there. Complaints about the Club Caribbean, which had been a black-owned bar room, they said, for 50 years.
One of the safest places.
Right.
In the city. Al and them have fun at Club Caribbean. Rarely, if ever, you hear about an incident there.
No, you don't.
Right.
Well run,
right.
Clean. And so you could see what was happening. People had determined that they were going to take back
that area was targeted.
Right. It was just so obvious. And we said no. Mm-hmm. So in a way, what we have done has been our resistance. It had twofold purposes. It's our resistance to gentrification. You just can't come in and take a neighborhood. Dwight had grown up back in that neighborhood.
Right.
So the McKennas had been back there for 100 years, along with the Mercadales, the Moriels.
A lot of traditional families
have been back there. So you can't just come in.
My late cousin, Bobby Trufant, their family.
Yeah, everybody can go back there.
That's right.
So we said no to that, subtly no. Mm-hmm. If you own it, we can sit back and complain.
It was subtle for a little while. Now, you didn't stay subtle. In the early days, you were subtle.
Right, because you can't always tell everybody everything you're thinking or doing. But we just said, no, this won't go down this way. People supported their families. Al supported their families, sent kids to college off of the income there. So we started slowly buying the buildings, and we wake up, and so we own a considerable amount of it, not a lot.
Right.
It's small.
Right.
My brother-in-law, George McKenna, would say, well, we are the best of the pitiful. So it's really pitiful in terms of the overall picture of what could be done. But we feel that we've made an impact on the neighborhood.
So what was it? Because there are so many areas like that. And when I look at some of the Bywater, what was Upper 9 coming up when you had this economic strips, right? You had this little house, working class African American community, especially after white flight in the 60s. Some of those slivers along the river.
Absolutely.
Uptown. What we see in Treme right now. What did you see there? Because there were others who lived in those other communities, right? And they were pretty much abandoned to be gentrified. What was it that you see that thought it could be and would be the Bayou Road that we see happening now?
Well, because, again, I'm not a youngster, obviously, but you remember, the small commercial quarters that owned and operated.
I remember Pico's and Sportco.
By black people.
Yeah.
Clear across this country, not peculiar to Claiborne Avenue in New Orleans, across the country.
Right.
These were areas where blacks had businesses, black professionals, black service providers. And before the days of integration, we shopped there, we spent our money there, we circulated our money in the community, and we built community. They were venues for community development and community building. So, hey, we'd lost that. So I said, why not? Why not do that here?
I want to walk down that road with you, Beverly McKenna, because I think it's important. And guys, for our listening audience, pay attention and walk with me here, right? We have a lot of conversation now about our own, right? The gentrification, people being displaced, losing historical African American communities, not just here in New Orleans, but throughout this country, especially in the core of the city. I remember the missing piece that you guys did years ago. Right now, P.J. Morton, Grammy Award-winning songwriter and a singer, has a hit single called Buy Back the Block out there now. He's in partnership with Liberty Bank and his buyback initiative throughout the country. We hear more folk being intentional now about focusing on our community. But it's been more conversation about buying back the block than actually our people buying back the block. Y'all start to buy back the block.
Yeah.
You guys put your money where a lot of the conversation was. But Beverly McKenna, that's risky, right? Especially given the challenges with capital in our community. Why that initial investment? Because you were taking a chance.
I happen to believe in our people. I believe that we need to come together. I believe in unity. I believe in being a voice. Sometimes we just don't talk about empowering ourselves.
The need to put your money where your mouth is?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what we did. Again, we don't have a board. That's Dwight McKenna and I, so we can get behind, he is the board of directors, I'm the board, so we can argue, we can fuss, and then come out and do it.
But there was another effort behind that. Now,
what was that?
And that is, once y'all have y'all board meeting, right, and once y'all put y'all money, your time, and your effort for, then to convince others, right? Convince those to stay when it was challenging early on. I remember the police targeting that area.
Right. Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Right. People being harassed.
Absolutely.
But then to talk others, the Mark Laws of the world, the cupcake fairies, Sister Vera to stay, folk at King. You did your thing, but then to talk others to get them to believe in it, that's a whole nother level.
Well, I think we were a group of people who came together. That was unintentional. We just have a fabulous group of people over there, really unintentional.
And now you have L'Appetit.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a major investment.
The theater?
The theater.
Theater. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a major investment over there. But in terms of the black businesses that have come together, These were small black business people. We shared a vision. They knew what they could do.
Mm-hmm.
They just merely needed an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
They needed the opportunity to be able to ply their wares, to do their thing. And I think that's what we gave them. It's a street not of black women, and that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to show black men and black women working. We're a black community.
Yes.
You know, this new vision of black
Absolutely.
women doing it all
Right.
by themselves.
It was a partnership.
It's a partnership. And what we can do working together,
Mm-hmm.
that's intentional. But Mark Laws, the Alvin Reese,
Yes.
Akil,
Mm-hmm.
they're black men and women working together to create this beautiful space. And it's our space. And I think that's another thing, intentionally creating a space of our own. We aren't trying to integrate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we welcome everybody there,
Mm-hmm.
but this is our space.
Kelder, some in
Kelder and Ken.
Yeah, and Kelder and Ken. I was talking to I was at Ronald Scott's birthday party at Kelder and Ken's spot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting there with Mark Laws and David Belfield, a good friend of mine, one of our
Mm-hmm.
leading criminal attorneys in this town, and we were sitting out there like you would sit out on Frenchman,
Mm-hmm.
or on Decatur,
Mm-hmm.
and to see people walking by, going from spot to spot, and enjoying that street. I had not experienced that
In a long time.
in a long time in our own community.
Community.
Wow, what a wonderful experience!
It
was.
is. It's wonderful to come into your own space. We don't have to edit what we say, what we think.
No.
I don't know who I'm going to run into, but I'll be at Half Shell. I can walk down the street and run into Oliver.
Oh, no, it was literally a who's who.
But it's a sense of
Right.
community.
And it was safe.
Again, coming together. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are loving it as well.
We're talking to Beverly McKenna, guys. If you guys haven't been out there, Bayou Road, yeah, there's a lot of hearts on social media right now. It is I don't want to say it's unbelievable because given the men and women who are behind it, but Beverly, you always saw that possibility there.
Mm-hmm.
You and Dwight.
Yeah, I see possibilities in ourselves. I was at a event for Carol Beebell the other evening, and James Borders, one of my favorite people, my first editor, was one of the speakers, and he said that we are in the stages of our final battle in the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, I went up and asked him what he was talking about. He said, in terms of economic development, here's where we are. So I see that street as also,
well, it's amazing how God and energy works, right? Because we're walking on that same road, right?
Right.
Because as I visioned it out, as I sat there that day, as I'm having this conversation with you, you guys not only showed the blueprint for what's possible, you guys have a blueprint for what can be done.
Exactly. We would like to even think that we're an example of what can be done in New Orleans East.
You're reading my mind.
In the ninth ward.
Absolutely.
And you can bet that's pushing in those areas. I just wish I were 40 years old because I would be out there in New Orleans East buying some of those strip shopping centers. Right. That's what we need to be thinking about. We need to be thinking about that. We can't wait. We can't sit and cry about people coming into our neighborhoods, taking our properties. If we own it, Oliver, it's all about ownership.
I wanted Beverly McKenna. Whether it's you're known for your activism around education, challenging the status quo, whether it's political or business system. You've had to walk a fine line. You've been in trouble in many cases with the powers that be, economically and socially and politically. But one of the most consistent things you and Dr. McKenna and your group, right, the men and women who work with you have done, as consistent as you guys are with education, knowing that that's the root, one of the foundations we have to fix. This economic struggle, you guys have made it a civil rights issue long before people were talking about it being the rights of time. Why?
Because that is the basis. It's all about, nobody's going to save us but us, Oliver. Mm-hmm. And all of this is based in economics, what we can afford. We know that begging, going, please, will you give us a grant? That doesn't work. Even when you're doing businesses. You have services to sell. You know that from being here at BOK.
No doubt about it.
I know that from running the Tribune for
Right.
35 years. To go to these white businesses, white-owned, majority-owned businesses, do they advertise? Even though you know you're selling a legitimate, much-needed service, no. It's through economics that they can keep you oppressed and suppressed.
But Beverly McKenna, right now, these are post-Katrina, right? When you look at the amount of money that has come through this town and this region, right? For those of us who understand, if you listen to Carl Gauman and many other intellectuals, academics, activists, right? When you look at the money that's come for education, growth and development, it is unbelievable, the sums, right? And then you look at the little group that you helped start some years ago with all of that money in terms of growth, development, education, right? Then you look at the disparity, right, and the collaborative. You say, well, hold on a second, right? I mean, it would be very difficult to accidentally participate in this little when so much has passed through this town. And then you look at it today, Beverly McKenna, breaking records in terms of tourism, city still sitting on billions of dollars of infrastructure money, capital projects that have to be done and built, education reform where they're targeting millions and billions of dollars to educational institutions, and still the disparity?
Well, again, I think this is when James Ward is saying we're at the last battle of this struggle. I think this is teaching us. You and I both, we have 30, 40 years of experience behind us. I think the answer lies in our coming together as a community. Unity. And that sounds old hat, but you can't say that enough.
Unity in the community? A common agenda?
Common agenda. Those are, and that's what's going to save us. That's what's going to save us. As I do well, that I can open my businesses or offer these spaces on Bayou Road. And I'm not saying this to be boastful, but we don't rent them at market rate.
Right.
Guess what? My daddy had always taught us that you can do well and do good at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't have to charge $6,000 to Mark Laws to rent his space,
Right.
which is what his previous lessor wanted to charge him. I know he can't survive
Right.
with that. So to fulfill my mission, to complete my dream of what's going to happen, I have to give a little bit too. So it's helping each other wherever and we are.
Okay, Beverly McKenna. I'm going to ask you this because I can, and because of what you've done. Then, and you said it earlier, right? To be an example, and what we see now is that perseverance, right, and that patience seems to be paying off, right? And we know that it can work. Duplicating this other places, right? Getting our community, many of our young folk, to be more intentional with their money.
Absolutely.
Getting our leaders, right, to know that one size doesn't fit all, and a rising tide doesn't lift all boats, especially if your boat ain't at the dock in the first place. How do we duplicate this effort? Because it seems like what you're on to with Bayou Road, I think, is neighborhood stabilization and anti-gentrification. And it's a model that's worked so far.
So far. Well, it's going to continue to work. I'm bound for that. We have to, again, come together, whether it be through churches. You say P.J. Morton, where we bring our monies together as churches.
PJ's song in this movement with liberty, buy back the block, right? It's a movement,
Right.
but we got to put our money.
We have to put our money. We have to come together and pull. We can't be jealous of, looking at, or I'm afraid I'll.
Hold on now, you're asking a lot now.
Well, I'm sorry. That's the other thing.
We can't be jealous.
We can't be jealous
We
or try to keep
can't
somebody.
hate each other?
Or no, say I can't do business with her.
Beverly McKenna.
No, you can't do that and be successful. So we have to, again, work together, come together, pool resources, pool ideas. When and where I enter, bring somebody else along with you. And I think that's the other thing. I enter here, I can reach back and bring somebody else along with me.
Now, let me talk about some things that I've seen that are successful, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit, right? As wonderful as it is, you guys hanging in there with Bayou Road, making the investment, convincing others, being fair. The quality is also the shop. Oh, the places, they look good. It was clean.
What is so surprising about that?
The
Oliver?
service was unbelievable. The lighting, the streets, it was actually cleaner than many of the spots in the quarter, and the lighting was actually better.
But that's the trouble. We don't expect, or people don't expect. Why can't we? You know, we're the ones who've been doing this all along, keeping places clean, decorating,
Beverly
painting.
McKenna.
You know, why is that such a surprise?
Right.
Why is that such a surprise? We set standards back there. We want our clients. We want you to feel good when you come back there. We want you to have the best service because you don't get it.
Right.
Historically, you haven't received it. So that's part of what we're doing, too. Everybody back there is in tandem with that desire.
So what makes it sustainable?
Oh, again, I think people are making money. People like it. People keep returning. We need people to continue to come there to spend your money. You're going out to dinner. Instead of going downtown to some restaurant that doesn't care about you, you bring your $40 or $50 back there, have a few drinks.
Right.
A perfect example, not with Bayou Road, but I think this is the way we have to begin thinking as a community. Last week, I entertained 15 of my docents, my volunteers at the museum, early in the week last week. Where am I going to take them? Well, I could have gone to a fancy hotel or the Fairmont or the Houstons and dropped my $1,000. But I consciously, Dwight was paying the bill, but we consciously took them to a Bayou Bistro.
Yeah.
Good food.
Absolutely.
Good service.
Absolutely.
So my $1,000 there made a difference.
But Beverly McKenna, you and we keep saying Dwight McKenna. He's also our coroner. Dwight McKenna, one of the great fighters and leaders of not only just Second Chance, but Chance, period. The man who did the study several years ago. Everybody's talking about these studies about black boys. He one of the first studies that gave us the indicators of what we needed to do if we were going to head off, whether this is conspiracy, this master plan against black men. He was one of the first to bring us there. But you guys are intentional, right?
Yeah. Well, we aren't impressed.
Y'all are on purpose.
Yes, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional.
Yes.
You could easily take, and every dollar counts. Every dollar you take over there, if you have a party, if you're having a party for 50 people, if you go over and spend it with Ken and Kelder at Whiskey and Sticks, beautiful environment, lovely patio. She always has something exciting going on back there.
Awesome atmosphere.
Right, absolutely. Then you see your friends and people you know when you go there.
Yes.
It's in a comfortable setting. So when we're conscious, first of all, I think about how we spend our money, how we help each other, how we support each other. And I think that's the answer. Self-empowerment. Self-empowerment. Nobody else is going to do that for us.
Beverly McKenna, you're actually, I don't want to use that word because it's, you're actually, I don't want to say naive because you've been through us, but you actually believe that this can work in other communities to stabilize.
Absolutely.
And fight. You really do, huh?
Absolutely, I do. I believe it. Again, just as you say, we're surprised about the service, the people who are there. No, I'm not surprised. Those are my people. Those are my friends. Those are the people I grew up with. Those were the people who were operating businesses in my neighborhood as a child. I know they can do it. I know I don't have to go over. The white man's ice is not colder. I know what I can get from my people in my community. And it's about community building, and looking out for each other. We're
talking to Beverly McKenna. When you talk about the Renaissance on Bayou Road, there was a whole lot of work. There was a lot of intentionality. When you look at the success of Bayou Road now, and when you look at other communities, they had the WBOK special on Treme recently, on if something doesn't happen soon. Right? Not only is those numbers going to continue to be flipped, but we're going to lose one of the oldest historic African American communities
in the country.
In the country. How do we begin to, like you guys, stabilize that effort with your time and your money, right? Not the McKennas aren't paupers, but y'all aren't the richest people.
No, we aren't.
Y'all aren't the richest people in this area. How do we begin to convince our leaders to partner with many of our people in our own community to get them to be that intentional? That's some work, Beverly McKenna.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, we keep talking. I think, again, we as a community have to come together behind closed doors with our elected officials. We have to have a plan. You know, you and I can sit here and talk and emote, but I think we have to have a plan. And I see nothing wrong with our coming together with our city council people, with our mayors, with the legislators.
Even with our differences.
Put those differences aside.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. And come together. Without a plan, we're just out kind of flailing. But with a plan, taking it off piece by piece.
I'm going to walk you down this road. We got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
And like I said, because I know you qualified and I can, right? The Tribune is always, like Jeff Thomas, the owner of Black Source Media and Think504.com, always making us think.
Absolutely.
People like yourself and Jeff Thomas have written, and you're talking about how viable black folk are now. Not just people of color, but black folk. How they're critical. How they're critical in our national politics. They're critical in our local politics, and they were extremely critical in our statewide politics in the last election. When you read the Tribune, when you read Think504.com, even with all of our challenges, it's a good time to be African American and making a difference. But then the question is, how do we hold and demand accountability?
I think and I think that's the answer right there. And I think we need to be organizing right now. We need to go there. One area that's right at the top of my agenda right now, SUNO is in trouble. You see those headlines start surfacing.
Subtle, you know what comes next.
But you know exactly, Oliver, what's coming next. They're going
merger.
Every 5 years. Merger.
Right.
It's coming. It's coming. We see that. We know that. We need to be on the front line right now, coming together as a community. Oh, no. SUNO has meant too much to this community. It's done too much in educating people, giving people without a lot of money the opportunity. But this has been a stabilizing force, a builder in our community.
No doubt about it.
We could take that right now. Go to the governor, our mayor, the people who can, the legislators. And I know the governor is facing problems because of the makeup of his
legislature.
I'm not naive to that.
But to be a governor in Louisiana,
right.
It's one of the most powerful positions, even if you don't have a legislature.
Absolutely. But also, you came in and took our schools, our public education. People came in and just took our schools. SUNO, you aren't going to do that. And I think we just need to say that.
Beverly McKenna, in this last minute, the next survey is going to show that we're breaking records in terms of tourism. I remember several years ago, folk like you, Gwen Carter, Ed Robinson, Jim Singleton, in your battles and your fights with Merv Trail and Ed McNeil about what they're calling multicultural tourism. Y'all are talking about black folk and traveling and they have their in money. And now all of a sudden we see
well, remember Clarence Barney
Clarence Barney
is the one that started that.
And now all of a sudden we see everybody celebrating multicultural travel. All these people of color now that are traveling, not only all over the world, but coming to New Orleans. These specific multicultural events, right, that are breaking records. Essence, Bayou Classic, the Fried Chicken Festival, even the infusion of multicultural travel in major events. The next survey that comes out is going to show we're breaking records, making more money than ever before. The indicators look good. Our role in that business, and how do we begin to participate in that business in a bigger way? And in many cases, we see the threats to the tourism network now saying now that we have multicultural travel, we don't need the African American tourism network anymore. We can consume that into the greater tourism model.
Well, first of all, though, we made a mistake when we dropped under Clarence Varney, when you started talking years ago, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, it was the Black Tourism Network.
Yeah, that was before me, but I remember the history of it.
And then we came in and we were nice and softened it, multicultural tourism.
Right.
And then we kind of got submerged, as we always do in that minority, all-inclusive.
Got watered down?
Watered down all the time. I see nothing wrong for us to be Black, unapologetically Black, speaking for the Black businesses that cater to tourism. After all, the culture bearers, who are those, they're the reason why people come to the city.
Anyway.
But, we're always trying to get over or use them or use their talents without them benefiting. That has to be changed as well.
But Beverly McKenna, well, first of all, thank you. I was just, I want to say I was taken aback. I don't even say that I was surprised. But it's more than just an allure on Bayou Road now. There's some real wonderful things happening that I think is not only a model for New Orleans, but a model for this country.
We're also making it a tourist. We're focusing to bring tourists out there. People want to see how Black people look. What
Absolutely.
they do.
Reverend McKenna, any other breaking news right here, just between you and me on the Good Morning Show, right?
No, I've enjoyed chatting with you as usual.
And how can people follow you, reach out? How can they subscribe, get the Tribune? How can they keep up with what's happening on Bayou Road? Any websites to go to?
Just come over.
Just come on over.
Just come on over and have a drink, buy some donuts, go listen to some music.
And have a good time. And you promise to come back, right?
I will be back.
OT and the Early Bird, man. Wow. What a wonderful, if you haven't been out there to Bayou Road, guys, it is absolutely fabulous. It's definitely a destination for me and my family. Now, but talking about a destination, when we come back, we're going to talk to one of our contributors, Jarvis Duberry. And the importance of Jarvis is going to get a kidney transplant, right? But the importance of organ donation and organ donors. We're also going to have Miss Cheryl McGee Hill. She's the local community educator. We'll have that conversation after the break.